Okay, great. So that was a very, very interesting, and thank you for sharing a very private, moment of co-founder. I've never heard something like that, so that's wonderful, and we really appreciate it. Now it'll be interesting to hear Paul's perspective because you've worked with Jamie and his brother. So why don't you? I'm sure you have lots of notes you want to comment on. So
Certainly.
We'll let you go.
Well, mine isn't quite as long, but I will tell you that actually was fascinating to me because while we had a ringside seat at the Roach Brothers Enterprise, we never saw the sausage making that was going on between the two of you. And in fact, when we first invested, as Matt pointed out, or Jamie pointed out, it was literally on the eve of their IPO. They were getting ready to file. They were going to go out. We were all going to make a lot of money. It was going to be very straightforward. In fact, we made a lot of those investments back in 2000 and 99, and they didn't quite work out that way. But this story is different in particular for us in the sense that after things started melting down, the brothers came to the board and to their investors and said, things are not going well. And it wasn't what we heard from most of our companies, which was, things aren't going well, we don't know what to do, can you tell us what we should do? And frankly, few venture investors really had good advice to hand out at that time. Instead, what Matt and Jamie came and said was, things aren't going well, we want to preserve the company, this is what we have to do. And they would treat us to how they were hardball renegotiating their leases, how they were dealing with all their equipment and the furniture that they had acquired, how they were dealing with, unfortunately, letting some of their employees go so that more would have a job for longer. And they took it on and they were quite proactive in terms of managing through it. Nobody had to tell them what to do. The board was not demanding things of them. Instead, they followed the cardinal rule of how you manage a board, which is coming to the board and explaining what they needed to do and how they were going to do it. And they proceeded to do that, and they proceeded to do it in as rapid and an effective way of any of the 20-some companies we had going through similar problems in our portfolio. It certainly wasn't easy, but ultimately, when they got down to their 8 employees, we frankly thought, this is just it's a soft landing. It's going to be all over. Our investment will be gone. Our $20 million that we put into these guys we'll never see again. And we accepted it. And in fact, when they got down to their 8 employees, I believe it took them about 24 months before they had developed the new Offermatica product and taken it out to the market and started selling it again and started building up their revenues and creating the business that they ultimately sold to Josh James. It's a fantastic story, and Jamie here is quite modest in telling it, but I can tell you as an investor, we had no other group that did anything close to that. And ultimately, because of the communication we had with this group, because of the way they handled things as 2 very young brothers, who, by the way, we were very nervous about investing in the first place because they were brothers, because they were family, because the cardinal rule is don't invest in family groups. There's been 2 that I can think of that have really worked out well. VMware and Marvell, the chip design. You guys may know some others, but very, very few are out there, mainly because they can't get funded, and those that do get funded generally don't do well. Well, we would love to have the chance to invest in Matt and Jamie again, and so we're cheering from the sidelines as Bolt goes forward, and we'll be at $10 million. I'm quite convinced in short order. So, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure to be your backers. We hope to again.
That's great. Thank you very much. Now, Paul, Jennifer, do you want to add anything that you found interesting or from a legal perspective that you find from like co-founding with family members versus, or is it the same issues but a little bit different?
Well, I think that a lot of the issues that they brought up about diversity of experiences and opinions and being accountable to one's partner, some of those things also apply to the legal aspects, because it's important in the beginning when you're founding your organization to make sure that your organization is accountable. And I know that it's boring sometimes to read all of the documents and all of the agreements that are going to be starting your organization, but make sure that you do understand all of those things. Maybe think about how you're going to resolve disputes if you have something that you and your partner really strongly believe in. You can think about that before, how you're going to assign patents or other intellectual property that your co-founder or you may own before. And also there are tax implications that would come from the type of organization that you start and where you start your organization. So those are all different things to think about in the beginning when you're really excited and you just want to get things going. So.
That's great. Okay, so we want to thank you guys again for a wonderful presentation, a very, like I said, private presentation that was really meaningful. And now we want to kind of open it up to Q&A from